Ladies and gentlemen, in a world that never stops talking, where opinions are shouted louder than truths, and where the noise of comparison drowns the whispers of our own hearts, today I want to share with you a secret that most of us overlook. A secret that doesn't demand energy, doesn't require effort, and yet has the power to change your life completely. That secret is silence. Think about it. Every great idea, every meaningful decision, every profound realization, it never comes when your mind is noisy. It comes when the world is quiet, when your heart is calm, when your soul is still. In silence, you stop hearing the world and you start listening to yourself. The greatest conversations you will ever have are not with others, but with your own conscience. Silence is often misunderstood as a sign of weakness or passivity. Yet in reality, it is one of the greatest strengths a person can possess. True strength doesn't always announce itself with noise, words, or dominance. Sometimes it resides in the quiet confidence of someone who doesn't need to prove anything to the world. In silence, there is control. Control over emotions, over reactions, and over one's energy. It's in those moments of stillness that a person demonstrates mastery not only over their environment, but also over themselves. Silence is not about suppressing your voice. It's about choosing when and how to use it with purpose, clarity, and power. In a society that celebrates loudness, opinions, and constant expression, silence often feels out of place. People tend to equate speaking up with being strong and staying quiet with being weak. But true strength lies not in how much noise you can make, but in how much peace you can maintain in the middle of chaos. It takes courage to remain composed when provoked, to stay calm when misunderstood, and to listen instead of argue. The person who can stand quietly in the storm, unmoved by others' opinions or chaos around them, possesses a strength that words can never convey. Silence gives you power because it makes you unpredictable. Others can read your words, but they cannot read your silence. When you are silent, you are not defeated. You are observing. You are thinking, learning, and understanding. Silence allows you to gather information before acting, to see situations from multiple angles before reacting. In this way, it becomes your greatest defense and your most effective strategy. It keeps your emotions in check and gives you the time to respond with intelligence rather than impulse. The person who can remain silent in the heat of anger or confrontation is not weak. They are wise. They have learned that reacting emotionally often makes things worse, while responding thoughtfully can change everything. Silence also builds confidence. When you no longer feel the need to explain, justify, or defend yourself constantly, you begin to realize your own worth. You stop seeking validation through words and find peace in knowing that truth doesn't need to be shouted, it simply exists. Confident people don't feel pressured to fill every silence with sound because they understand that their presence, their calm energy, and their quiet focus speak volumes on their behalf. Silence allows your actions to make the noise, and actions, unlike words, cannot lie. In professional and personal life alike, silence becomes a sign of maturity. It shows that you have emotional control and that you understand timing, when to speak and when to stay quiet. Many great leaders and thinkers throughout history have mastered this art. They spoke less, listened more, and acted wisely. Their silence wasn't ignorance, it was insight. When you listen deeply, you hear what others miss. The tone, the intention, the emotion behind words. This awareness makes your communication more impactful and your decisions more precise. Moreover, silence nurtures inner peace. In moments of solitude, when you step away from the noise of the world, you begin to reconnect with yourself. You hear your own thoughts clearly, you recognize your fears, and you strengthen your mind. In that quietness, you build mental resilience, a kind of inner armor that helps you face the outside world with calm confidence. Silence doesn't just make you strong externally, it makes you unshakable within. The real strength of silence lies in restraint, the ability to hold back when others rush forward, to remain patient when others lose control, to stay centered when others break apart. It is easy to speak in anger, to defend yourself in every situation, to react impulsively to every word or action. But it takes immense discipline and inner power to remain calm and composed when every part of you wants to shout back. That is strength, silent, deep, and undeniable. So silence is not the absence of strength, it is its purest expression. It is the power to rise above noise, the courage to stay calm in chaos, and the wisdom to understand that peace is stronger than aggression. Those who master silence don't need to prove themselves. They let their silence, their focus, and their results speak louder than any words ever could. In a world filled with distractions, noise, and constant movement, it becomes increasingly difficult to truly hear ourselves. We are surrounded by voices telling us who to be, what to want, and how to live, leaving little space for our own truth to surface. Yet, it is in the embrace of silence that we finally meet ourselves. When the noise fades and the world grows still, we begin to hear the quiet whisper of our own soul, a voice that has been waiting patiently beneath all the chaos. Silence is not emptiness. It is the bridge that connects you with your true self, helping you discover who you are beyond titles, expectations, and the opinions of others. The beauty of silence lies in its ability to peel away the layers of noise that have built up over time. When you allow yourself to be silent, you step away from external distractions and give yourself the gift of presence. It is in that space of stillness that reflection happens. You begin to understand why you think the way you do, why you feel what you feel, and what truly drives you. This awareness is the foundation of self-discovery. The person who can sit in silence without fear is someone who has learned to be comfortable with their own thoughts. And that comfort is the beginning of growth. Most people spend their lives running away from silence because silence forces them to confront themselves. It reveals truths we often try to hide, insecurities, regrets, desires, and dreams we've buried deep. But those moments of confrontation are where transformation begins. When you sit quietly and observe your mind, you start to understand what you need to change and what you must cherish. You see your strengths and weaknesses without judgment. Silence helps you make peace with your imperfections and motivates you to evolve from within. In silence, you realize that you are more than what the world tells you. You start recognizing your potential, your purpose, and your unique path. The outside world often pushes you to compare your journey with others, to measure success through external validation. But in silence, comparison fades and clarity rises. You stop asking, what are others doing? And start asking, what do I truly want? This shift is powerful because it allows you to make decisions aligned with your authentic self rather than out of fear or social pressure. You stop living by default and start living by design. Silence also strengthens intuition. When your mind is still, your inner wisdom becomes louder. You begin to sense what feels right and what doesn't, who aligns with your energy and who drains it, which opportunities are worth pursuing and which are distractions. This intuitive clarity often gets lost in the noise of opinions and endless chatter. But when you return to silence, your intuition sharpens. It becomes your internal compass, guiding you toward your purpose and peace. Spending time in silence also deepens your emotional intelligence. It helps you observe your reactions, understand your emotions, and respond with mindfulness rather than impulse. You learn to recognize when you're angry, anxious, or hurt without letting those emotions control you. By understanding yourself on this deeper level, you gain the ability to connect with others more authentically. You become more empathetic, compassionate, and grounded, not because you've learned how to please others, but because you've learned how to be honest with yourself. Silence becomes a form of self-care. It's the time you spend recharging your energy, cleansing your thoughts, and aligning with your higher purpose. When you dedicate even a few minutes each day to sit quietly, to breathe deeply, and to just be, you allow your inner voice to strengthen. Over time, this habit shapes your mindset, improves focus, and restores balance in every area of life. In silence, you stop pretending. You no longer wear masks to fit in or chase validation to feel worthy. You begin to appreciate solitude instead of fearing it. And in that solitude, you realize that everything you were searching for outside, peace, confidence, direction, has always been within you. The person who discovers themselves in silence becomes unshakable because they no longer depend on the world to define them. They understand their worth, their vision, and their place in life. That kind of self-awareness, born from silence, is the truest form of strength and freedom a person can ever achieve. Silence has an extraordinary power to heal and bring clarity, yet many people overlook its value in a world that glorifies speed, constant connection, and endless conversation. When you pause and allow silence to enter your life, you create a space where your thoughts can settle, where your emotions can breathe, and where understanding begins to take shape. Silence acts like a mirror. It reflects the truth that noise often hides. It is in those quiet moments that the fog in your mind starts to clear, revealing what truly matters and what has merely been clutter. When you are surrounded by noise, it becomes difficult to differentiate between what you feel and what others make you feel. External distractions, social media, opinions, pressures, and comparisons can cloud your inner world. But silence strips away those layers of confusion. It's in the stillness that you begin to understand yourself more deeply. You start to see your life not through the lens of others, but through the clarity of your own awareness. Silence doesn't give you answers immediately, but it provides the mental space for answers to emerge naturally. It's like muddy water that settles when left untouched. When the movement stops, the clarity appears. Emotional healing often begins in silence because it allows suppressed feelings to surface without judgment. Many people avoid silence because it makes them uncomfortable. It forces them to confront emotions they've buried under busyness and distraction. But those emotions, pain, regret, disappointment, are not meant to be ignored. They are meant to be understood and released. Silence gives you the opportunity to sit with those feelings, to process them, and to transform them into wisdom. In silence, you can hear the subtle messages behind your pain. You start to understand why something hurt you and what it was meant to teach you. And with that understanding comes healing, slow, steady, and powerful. Silence is also a form of mental detox. Just as your body needs rest to recover, your mind needs silence to renew itself. Constant stimulation drains mental energy, leaving you anxious and scattered. But when you spend time in silence, even for a few minutes a day, your mind resets. The endless thoughts that once raced through your head begin to slow down and focus returns. In this calm state, you can prioritize your goals, make decisions with greater precision, and view challenges with a balanced perspective. Clarity is not something you chase. It's something that emerges when the noise inside you fades away. In silence, you learn the art of mindfulness, the ability to live in the present moment without being pulled by past regrets or future worries. When you sit quietly, observing your breath or simply listening to the rhythm of your surroundings, your awareness deepens. You begin to notice how often your mind wanders, how many unnecessary thoughts occupy your attention. And with each moment of recognition, you regain control over your inner world. This awareness leads to peace and peace is the foundation of clear thinking. Silence also enhances your connection with intuition. When the outer world becomes quiet, the inner world becomes louder. Your intuition, that inner voice that guides you toward what feels right, becomes easier to hear. Often, people seek advice from others because they don't trust their own instincts. But in silence, that guidance becomes clear. You start to realize that the answers you've been looking for have always been within you. They were simply drowned out by the noise of fear, doubt, and distraction. Another form of healing that silence offers is through forgiveness, both of yourself and others. When you spend time in silence, you reflect on your experiences from a place of calm instead of anger. You see situations from a higher perspective. You begin to understand that holding on to resentment or guilt only harms your peace. Through quiet reflection, you can release those emotional burdens and make space for growth. Silence also cultivates gratitude. When the world quiets down, you become aware of the simple things: your breath, the warmth of sunlight, the sound of your heartbeat. This mindfulness nurtures appreciation for the present moment and shifts your focus away from what's lacking toward what's abundant. Gratitude brings its own healing as it fills your heart with contentment and calm. Ultimately, silence is not an absence of sound. It's the presence of awareness. It clears the mind of unnecessary noise, mends the heart from emotional wounds, and guides the soul toward understanding. Every moment spent in silence is an investment in your well-being and clarity. It strengthens your ability to think clearly, feel deeply, and live intentionally. When you allow silence to become part of your daily rhythm, you stop being lost in the noise of the world and start living in harmony with the stillness within you. And in that stillness, everything begins to make sense again. Silence holds the remarkable ability to transform how we respond to the world around us. It teaches us to pause before reacting, to think before speaking, and to feel before judging. In a fast-paced world where impulsive reactions have become the norm, silence becomes a powerful tool for self-mastery. It is in moments of stillness that wisdom replaces haste, calm replaces chaos, and understanding replaces conflict. When you learn to embrace silence before responding, you step out of emotional turbulence and into a space of clarity, where your words and actions carry intention rather than impulse. Most people react because they are trapped in emotion. When someone says something hurtful or challenges them, their instinct is to defend, argue, or retaliate. But reaction is often rooted in ego, not awareness. It's the product of the mind trying to protect itself, rather than the heart trying to understand. Silence interrupts that automatic cycle. It gives you the pause you need to separate emotion from response. In that brief pause, you gain control, not over others, but over yourself. You realize that not every comment deserves an answer. Not every provocation needs a defense, and not every moment requires your voice. That understanding is true emotional strength. The most composed individuals are not those who never face conflict. They are those who have trained themselves to remain still in the midst of it. Silence doesn't mean submission, it means strategy. It allows you to observe what is happening without becoming part of the chaos. You can read the tone, the emotion, and the energy behind words, which helps you respond with intelligence rather than anger. The one who reacts loses power, but the one who stays silent and observes gains insight. By choosing silence, you give yourself the gift of perspective, the ability to see things as they are, not as they appear in the heat of emotion. Silence also cultivates patience, and patience strengthens relationships. In moments of disagreement, silence can prevent words that might later cause regret. A calm response born from silence often has far greater impact than an emotional outburst. When you listen quietly, instead of rushing to speak, people feel heard and understood. That deep listening builds trust and respect. It shows maturity, a sign that you value understanding more than winning. Many conflicts in both personal and professional life could be resolved if more people learn to pause in silence before reacting. When you choose silence, you shift from being reactive to being reflective. You begin to observe your own thoughts and emotions more deeply. You notice how quickly anger rises, how pride wants to dominate, or how fear tries to control your response. This awareness is what transforms you from being a slave to emotion into a master of your mind. Over time, silence strengthens this inner discipline. It allows you to navigate challenges with grace and composure. You no longer need to shout to prove your point or rush to defend your worth. Your calm presence becomes your authority. Silence also enhances decision-making. In the noise of urgency, we tend to make choices driven by pressure or fear. But when we take a moment of silence before acting, our mind resets. The clarity that follows allows us to see options we couldn't see before. It gives space for reason and intuition to work together. Some of the best decisions are made not in moments of discussion, but in moments of reflection. Silence gives you time to consider the long-term effects of your actions, helping you act from purpose rather than impulse. This practice of silence is especially powerful in leadership and communication. Great leaders are often great listeners. They don't rush to fill every gap with words. They understand that silence can be more persuasive than speech. When you are silent, you make room for others to express themselves fully. You create an atmosphere where thoughtful dialogue replaces argument. Silence becomes a statement, one that communicates confidence, awareness, and control beyond its practical benefits. Silence is deeply spiritual. It teaches humility. When you are silent, you acknowledge that not everything requires your opinion, that truth doesn't always need to be spoken aloud, and that peace sometimes lies in restraint. It reminds you that your worth is not measured by how quickly you can respond, but by how deeply you can understand. Silence helps you stay connected to your inner calm, even when the outer world demands reaction. Over time, you realize that silence is not just the absence of words, it's the presence of wisdom. It empowers you to respond from understanding, not emotion. It turns your reactions into reflections and your impulses into insights. The person who has learned the art of silence no longer feels the need to fight every battle or prove every point. They respond with purpose, speak with clarity, and live with peace because they understand that sometimes the most powerful response is found in the quiet between words. Silence carries an unseen energy, an energy that attracts rather than chases, that draws rather than demands. In a world that constantly urges people hustle, compete, and speak louder to be noticed, silence offers an entirely different form of power. It operates on a frequency of calm assurance, where one's inner strength speaks louder than words ever could. When you embrace silence, you stop pursuing things with desperation and start allowing them to flow naturally toward you. This shift in energy is subtle yet profound. It is the moment you move from striving to aligning, from chasing outcomes to attracting opportunities. When you are silent, you are centered within yourself. You are not distracted by external noise or swayed by the opinions of others. That self-containment radiates confidence. People are drawn to those who are comfortable in their own presence, who don't need constant validation, and who exude composure even when surrounded by uncertainty. Silence projects stability. It tells the world that you are grounded and self-assured. This kind of calm confidence becomes magnetic. It draws respect, trust, and admiration without any need for self-promotion. The quieter your energy, the more powerful your presence becomes. Silence also creates space for clarity, and clarity attracts success. When your mind is free from noise, you begin to see your goals more clearly. You recognize what truly matters and what does not. You stop wasting energy on distractions and start investing it in meaningful directions. The universe seems to respond differently when you operate from this state of focus and calm. Opportunities that once felt distant begin to appear naturally. Relationships that align with your growth start forming, and the right circumstances find their way to you. This is not coincidence. It is the result of being in tune with your own energy through silence. When you are constantly chasing something, be it success, recognition, or approval, you create resistance. The more you push, the further it seems to move away. But silence teaches you to let go of that resistance. It reminds you that what is truly meant for you doesn't require force. It only requires faith and alignment. Silence helps you align your thoughts, intentions, and actions so that you become a natural magnet for what belongs to you. You begin to realize that attraction is not about effort, but about energy. When your mind is calm and your intentions are pure, life flows in harmony with your desires. There is also an elegance in silent confidence, a quiet strength that speaks through actions instead of words. People often believe they must constantly talk about their dreams or prove their worth through speech, but those who operate in silence allow their results to speak for them. They work steadily, patiently, and with discipline, without broadcasting every move. This quiet focus attracts genuine success because it is rooted in substance rather than show. The world respects consistency more than noise, and silence helps you stay consistent by keeping distractions at bay. Silence has a deep connection with inner peace, and peace itself is a powerful attractor. When you are at peace within, you radiate an energy that others can feel. People naturally gravitate toward calm, balanced individuals because they bring stability into chaotic environments. Your silent strength becomes a source of comfort and inspiration to those around you. This energy not only attracts the right people, but also repels negativity. Silence sets boundaries without confrontation. It communicates self-respect without a single word. It becomes your silent shield, protecting your focus and your purpose. Moreover, silence amplifies gratitude, and gratitude amplifies attraction. When you spend quiet moments reflecting on what you already have, you shift your focus from lack to abundance. This mental shift opens doors for more blessings to flow into your life. Silence gives you time to appreciate progress, to acknowledge how far you've come, and to express silent thanks for the journey. That gratitude creates positive energy, and positive energy draws more positivity in return. Silence is also a powerful form of trust. When you are silent, you are telling the universe that you don't need to control every outcome, that you trust the timing of life. You learn to be still and allow things to unfold as they are meant to. That stillness is not passive. It is deeply active on an energetic level. It signals confidence in your path and faith in your purpose. People who live from this space of calm faith rarely need to chase anything. They become magnets for opportunity because their inner energy is steady, balanced, and intentional. The beauty of silence is that it transforms attraction from an external effort into an internal state. It reminds you that when your mind is still, your vision becomes sharper, your energy becomes stronger, and your life begins to align naturally with your highest desires. The more you embrace silence, the more you attract peace, clarity, purpose, and success. Not because you demanded them, but because you became the kind of person who naturally draws them in. Silence possesses a language of its own, one that speaks louder than any words could ever express. It communicates power, confidence, and understanding in ways that speech often fails to convey. In moments of silence, we discover that not everything needs to be said. Some truths carry more weight when left unspoken. Silence becomes a reflection of maturity, emotional intelligence, and self-control. It is the mark of a person who has learned that actions reveal far more than explanations, and that peace is more valuable than the need to be right. When you master the art of silence, you learn to let your presence do the talking. There are moments in life when silence becomes the most powerful response. When you are confronted with anger, misunderstanding, or negativity, responding with silence shows inner strength. It demonstrates that you are not controlled by the behavior of others. People often mistake silence for weakness, but in truth, it requires far greater strength to stay calm when provoked than to react impulsively. The one who can stay silent in the face of chaos is not defeated. They are in control. Silence gives you the time to think, to analyze, and to choose your response wisely rather than emotionally. This ability to pause and hold your peace is a sign of mastery over yourself. Silence also communicates confidence. When you no longer feel the need to prove your worth through words, you show the world that you are secure in who you are. Confident individuals don't need to shout their achievements or defend their choices. Their energy, behavior, and results speak for them. A person grounded in silence holds a certain mystery, an unspoken authority that draws respect. Others sense the power in that calm demeanor, the quiet assurance that doesn't seek validation but commands it naturally. Silence, in this sense, is not an absence of voice but a presence of strength. In relationships, silence can be transformative. It has the power to prevent unnecessary conflict, to create space for understanding, and to allow emotions to settle before communication resumes. When two people argue, they often listen only to respond, not to understand. But when silence enters the space, listening becomes genuine. It allows empathy to emerge. Sometimes the most loving thing one can do in a heated moment is to stay silent. Not out of avoidance, but out of respect. Silence gives room for reflection, for both sides to realize what truly matters. Words can wound deeply, but silence can heal when used with intention and awareness. Silence also teaches discipline in communication. It reminds us that not every thought deserves expression and not every opinion needs to be shared. In a world where people constantly seek to be heard, silence becomes a mark of wisdom. It allows you to observe before acting, to listen before speaking, and to understand before judging. Those who can remain silent at the right moment carry influence because their words, when finally spoken, carry weight. People listen to those who don't speak often because silence gives their voice value. It transforms ordinary speech into meaningful communication. Beyond human interaction, silence also speaks volumes through action. Your effort, consistency, and integrity send a message stronger than any statement you could make. When you focus on your goals quietly, without broadcasting every move, your results become your voice. The silent worker often surprises the world with achievements because they let success be their sound. Silence here becomes an expression of discipline and focus, a reminder that the loudest victories often happen behind closed doors, away from attention and noise. Silence also nurtures emotional balance. When you choose silence in moments of frustration or pain, you protect your peace. You allow emotions to pass without giving them power through speech. Words said in anger can't be taken back, but silence holds no regret. It gives you the time to understand what you truly feel before expressing it. That emotional maturity not only strengthens your character, but also builds respect from others. People trust those who can stay composed under pressure because their silence reflects reliability and depth. There are times when silence speaks truths that words cannot capture. Moments of awe, gratitude, or grief where language falls short. In those moments, silence becomes sacred. It allows you to experience emotion fully without the need to define it. Silence holds space for understanding beyond intellect. It connects you to something deeper, something eternal. It allows you to feel presence, compassion, and humility in ways that no words could express. The beauty of silence is that it carries meaning without sound. It can comfort, confront, empower, and heal. It can reveal more about your character than speech ever could. Those who understand the value of silence use it as both armor and art, a shield that protects their peace and a tool that elevates their presence. Silence, when chosen wisely, becomes the ultimate language of wisdom, strength, and grace. So today, my friends, I invite you to rediscover the power of silence. Take a moment every day to disconnect from the noise and reconnect with yourself. Sit quietly, breathe deeply, and listen, not to the world, but to your soul. Because in silence, you will not lose anything. You will gain everything: peace, clarity, strength, and purpose. Remember, silence is not weakness, it's wisdom. It's not retreat, it's realization. The more silent you become, the more you hear. And when you start listening to your inner voice, life begins to align with your true desires. Thank you